Okay, let's go into communication from the public and petitions.
Prior written notice from Shakoya Donaldson of 237 Lincoln Avenue of a tree with branches hanging on power line into the street and hitting her window, upstairs window.
Any discussion, council?
Has that been looked into, Randy?
It will be. I'm not even sure if it's on the list, to be honest with you, but we'll check it out.
Okay.
Number two, Ed?
Number two, request from the Dunkirk High School District for police assistance during the homecoming parade route from approximately 6 p.m. until, 6:15 to 6:45 p.m. on Friday, October 7, 2022.
Any discussion, council? Chief, any problems with
I
that?
already got Lieutenant detail on this, it's taken care of.
Thank you. Number three.
Number three, request from the Dunkirk High School District for 2 police officers to be present at the homecoming dance on Saturday, October 8, 2022 from 7:45 p.m. to 11:15 p.m. Also requesting a breathalyzer test for each student attending the dance.
Any discussion, council?
So
Chief.
Brian's handling this one too.
Thank you.
Number four, request from Eves and Militello PC for a hearing with the Common Council on behalf of their client Daniel Reshka, owner of 927 Central Avenue.
Any discussion, council?
Is Richard going to say anything on it? Should Richard need to make a comment on it?
Yeah, we'll have to get to Richard, and once we get into the regular meeting, we'll refer to legal on that. Okay, let's go to reports of standing special committees and boards. Councilwoman Lipscomb.
Not here.
Councilwoman Nichols?
None.
And I don't have anything also. Unfinished business?
We have none, sir.
Pre-filed resolution.
Number 82, resolution authorizing grant application Restore New York Communities Initiative.
Any discussion, council? Hearing none, let's go to 83.
Resolution awarding bid to clean demolition 47 East 2nd Street in Dunkirk.
Any discussion, council? Okay, hearing none, new business? None? With that, can I have a motion to adjournment? Nichols? You're all I got, ladies.
Councilmember Nichols? Councilmember Azar Nichols.
Aye, we're adjourned.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, 25 minutes. When you walk in the door.
Regular session.
Have those for his meeting.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I had them for mine, but not his. And then one of my meetings, the tape recorder were full, for a couple of them, were full, so I couldn't record anything.
Yeah.
Till I start deleting stuff, but I got to upload it before I can start deleting. And then one of them, the battery died 3 minutes into the meeting. Yes.
An application for handicap access.
Okay, that's on one of the shelves in the office. The counter when you walk in. That's behind you. Behind the. It's on my side of the counter, but your side. It's got all sorts of applications and papers. There's a tray, a black tray that has like 4 different things on it. One of those is the handicap application.
Oh, okay. Because then I
Yep.
have to have my mom's.
Yep.
Had the doctor complete it.
She fills out her portion, the doctor fills out his portion, and then the police department,
Then I give it to the police.
and they'll give you the hang tag.
Because we have an outdated one.
Mhm.
So we just need to go through the whole process again. Okay.
Or else
Yeah.
you can ask the doctor's office, and they have a form that's pre-done, pre-filled in, partially. I've seen those come in before, where the doctor's office fills it out
Yeah.
ahead of time, and then, so, but the one in the office, you do fill out manually, so.
Okay. Well, I'll take it just in case.
Yep.
I'm going to ask somebody something and I can't think of it.
I need a Mountain Dew, I've got a headache. it's only Monday, but it's Tuesday. But it's just, you know, when you concentrate all day and you try to stay focused and it just, it drains you.
What I'll try to do is stop in one day this week on my lunch hour after 1. So, we did a rescue last year. Got a dog license. Somehow there was a typo on my address. So obviously the renewal didn't get to me because the address was wrong, right? So I happened to be cleaning out the office last week. I was trying to switch some stuff over and I found the old one. I'm like, well, duh, this makes Let's call to order the regular meeting for October 4th, 2022. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Lescoviac.
Here.
Councilmember Bamanto.
Excused?
Councilmember Stoy.
Excused?
Councilmember Nichols.
Here.
Councilmember at Large D'Amico.
Here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, certification of prior meeting.
This is to certify that an official copy of the minutes of the Common Council meeting of Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 was presented to the mayor on Wednesday, September 28th, 2022. Pursuant to Section 3.03 of the Dunkirk City Charter, all items presented to the mayor are now in full force and effect. In witness, wherefore, I have here to set my hand and the seal of the City of Dunkirk, New York, this 4th day of October, 2022.
Can I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes? I got Nichols,
Second.
second by Lescoviac.
Councilmember Lescoviac.
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large D'Amico.
Aye, carried. Bless you. Privilege of the floor.
The privilege of the floor shall be extended to any person appearing for themselves, in which case that individual shall be limited to 3 minutes, and to any person representing a group who shall be limited to 5 minutes. When recognized, please stand and state your name and address. The city clerk shall have the duty of maintaining such time limits, and the councilman at large may determine in his discretion whether individuals are speaking for themselves or representing groups. Councilman at large D'Amico shall maintain good order, may require any speaker to cease speaking if remarks are made in bad taste or are slanderous or non-germane to any action taken or contemplated by council. The time limit specified above shall be strictly adhered to, except that a speaker may be allowed to complete a statement or thought started before such time has expired.
Privilege of the floor is now open. Please state your name and address.
I'm Linda Bradigan. I live at 146 West 6th Street. And my time starts now, right?
Yes.
Okay. I live on West 6th Street, just 2 houses from the corner of Brigham Road. I realize the decision not to pave West 6th Street has been made. For future reference, I'd like to point out a couple of things as a resident of that street that you wouldn't know. You can't live on every street, obviously, so you are missing some insight. West 6th Street has quite a lot of tractor-trailer traffic. Now, I don't know if their GPS is leading them from Route 5 to 6th Street to get over to Talcott or what, but I know it happens. I know first student buses traveling from Fredonia via Brigham use West 6th Street every single school day, including summer school, so that is September through mid-August. Of course, I know there is a lot of daily traffic to the junior-senior high school from both parents and faculty and staff. Besides West 6th Street, McKinley and Woodrow are in terrible condition and should be on someone's list for next season. Sporting events at the junior-senior high school track and gym also bring many drivers from outside the area. We are surely not putting our best foot forward with the street conditions in that neighborhood. Last summer, as you recall, a new water main was installed along Brigham and up West 6 to Marauder Drive. I'm sure I am speaking for many homeowners along the street when I describe the unacceptable job done by a subcontractor in repairing and reseeding the hell strip between the sidewalk and curb. I'll just describe my own experience. Most everyone should know that when you dig a very deep hole and then backfill it, you need to wait a bit because it will settle. Well, no one waited, but immediately barely spread some stone-filled, poor-quality topsoil and sprayed grass seed. The results are a sunken area over the replaced connection and weedy, poor-quality grass. It is personally annoying to me because I pay turf tenders to fertilize and kill weeds on my lawn. And even though I weeded the area and spot weed every week when I mow, weeds have encroached on my lawn The grass is thin and inferior. I was told by a neighbor that had also complained, and he was told it would be fixed. It hasn't been. I hope this will be brought to the attention of the DPW. I work very hard to try and make my Dunkirk home something to be proud of. Do I have more time?
You have 30 seconds left.
Okay. I am wondering why there are not enforceable ordinances to help the building inspector. I know he has visited my immediate neighbor to the west many times, but nothing ever changes. My neighbor is content with paying the small fine, doing the minimum, and life goes on. It's not only an eyesore I worry about a house or garage fire. Thank you for letting me speak. Do I have 30 more seconds?
That's 3 minutes, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, quick in regards to her speaking, Councilwoman Nichols, as chair of DPW, can you take that under advisement back to your next DPW meeting?
Well, at the last meeting, Randy and I had the discussion on it, and I believe Marty also said if we could go back onto the contractor to see if they could do some help with getting that, because it has not been signed off of as yet, if I'm correct.
Yes,
Randy, do you want to add to that, please?
If I could just add to that a little
Please.
bit. I'd like to thank the resident for coming in and bringing that to our attention. The contract has not been closed out for that water line. I still stand by the water line being important to be there.
Oh yeah, I'm happy with it, and I'm happy with our new fire hydrants.
So now that we finish the project, we'll go back there, know the address. It's fairly easy to fix that right. Now that it's settled, we can put good topsoil in there and seed it. So as long as we still got good weather like this, it's a good time to do it. So I'll make sure they go back there. And 6th Street isn't off the list indefinitely, just for this year. And that whole area you mentioned also is really coming up as necessary. So you want to plan it all out and dress it all up. Just so that's going to be our recommendation for the mayor for the next season, whenever we're available to do that. But immediately we can get the grass fixed.
Thank you.
I would just like to add that Linda's house and her property, she's done a remarkable job on it. It is beautiful, and if everybody in the city of Dunkirk took as much care and dedication to making her house, and I know what it looked like prior to her purchasing it and doing all the work, it is something that I would say should belong in a magazine. So I can understand her concern, as long as, and there's several others on that street are the same way too. And then if you took a drive, you would see there's many, and I know there's another house across the street from hers that the driveway was ruined in the work done, and they're still waiting for the piece of concrete to be done there for the driveway. So there's still a lot of people that need to contact you that are not satisfied with the way things are, so that they can be adequately adjusted.
Yeah, just to close out, there were 2 utility companies that worked in that area. Our contractor did the water line. There was another one of the other utilities that was there too, and some of the damage actually was done by that other utility. And when I take a look at it, if it's the other utility, I'll get them to fix it as well. So good points. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak under privilege of the floor?
I don't know. Maybe going forward, a suggestion for landlords that live away is to have seek to do their work through a company instead of a person, because a person could be a family member, it could be, and that would be a business for someone that could start, that could be here, but instead of just having someone, perhaps they would have to go through a company to take care of. So that's just a suggestion that we could go forth and check it out in the future.
Very good. Paul Sommerfeld, Citizens Advisory Committee. In regard to the time limit, I suggested a few years ago that we kind of have a visible timer, countdown timer, so that someone doing the speaking will know how much time they have left. I had been looking through the city code, and I found something that kind of surprised me. Under the fire prevention, under Article 1, it quotes a couple of documents that are from 1962 and 1963, and under Article 12, there's a reference to something from 1963. Now, I have no doubt that the city is complying with the current regulations. My point is that we shouldn't have actual dates on there because it forces you to go back and change every time the change is made to the current mandated documents. So why have a reference to the date in there at all? Why not just have a reference to the document itself? This would mean that you don't have to keep going back to those sections and have to redo them, which is obviously a problem since it's still shown 1963. As far as someone not compliant with their property maintenance, in San Diego, there's a restriction to aircraft departing between midnight or 11:30 and 6:30 a.m. And they have a progressive fine thing where if you have your first problem or your first violation is like $100, and your second violation is something like $1,000, and your third violation is that you can't fly into the airport for 6 months. Now, obviously, we can't kick somebody out of their house for 6 months, but perhaps something like that can be done until it really starts to hurt the pocketbook of the person so they'll comply instead of waiting till the last minute. Trying to think of what that, I've had at least 2 people ask a question about snow plowing once winter hits with relation to those median construction areas. So perhaps someone could address how that's not really going to be a problem. And the question that occurred to me as I was thinking about this and bringing it up was, are we going to make sure that those crosswalks are plowed so that people can actually cross the street? I've noticed over the past couple of years that the sidewalk in front of Memorial Park is usually never plowed or shoveled, and so that forces somebody to cross the street, cross back, or walk in the street. And that, to me, seems like it's kind of dangerous, making people do extra when they shouldn't have to. And I guess that's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy, would you like to address that as far as the crosswalks and the following the meeting?
I would like to say that we have a snowplow crew that's second to none, and these guys will adapt and improvise and overcome. It's going to be something new, so there's a learning curve, but I stand by our crew and their ability to do it. The DOT helped design that, so they are the engineers of record for that road. They wouldn't have done it if they didn't think it would work. So we're going to work with them to do everything we can to make it work. If it doesn't, we'll make some adjustments. But it's obviously going to take some changes. We will work with DOT and the contractor to make sure all those crosswalks are labeled, and I think it's a good idea to add that to the sidewalk plowing route, to make sure those ramps at the sidewalk entrances and crosswalk entrances are available throughout the winter. So a good point, and see how we do in a few months.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to speak on the public privilege of the floor?
Councilman, I would just like to ask Chief Edwards if he could look at those 2 articles that were from back then, and if there needs to be revisions on it, could you bring it to light to see so that we're up to date?
Actually, we're in the process now between the Code Enforcement Office and the Fire Department and the City Attorney. We are revising that part of the city code as we speak. So it should just be, it's we're probably within a month or two of that being completely revised.
Great, great, thank you.
Richard, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just that, and I thank Mr. Sommerfeld for always keeping us on our toes with his code and charter reviews. We haven't had a charter review commission since 1977, and I think you and the CAC know that full well. So it's been piecemeal in terms of revising both the charter and the code, but we're doing it. In fact, a lot of what you're reading, if you're reading it offline, is already out of date. It's been, many sections have already been updated. We just have to upload those most updated sections. Property maintenance, sewer ordinance was just updated last year. This, within, I would say, the next 2 or 3 council meetings, we'll be introducing local laws to essentially revamp property maintenance, building code, and fire code, as state law has changed and the regulations have changed on all the above. And there's more dynamic interaction between the 3 than there were in the previous codes. So all of that's in process. We're working hand in glove with the departments that manage those parts of the code. And you beat us to the punch, Paul, but we're getting there.
Thank you, Richard. Would anyone else like to speak? Going once, twice, 3 times. Privilege of floor is closed. Communication from the mayor, including disapproval messages. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one quick announcement. Just a reminder for the council and the public that this Friday at 3 p.m. in the mayor's conference room, I will be presenting fiscal year 2023 budget. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to communication from the public and petitions.
We have a prior written notice from Shakoya Donaldson of 237 Lincoln Avenue of a tree with branches hanging on power lines in the street and hitting her upstairs window.
Okay, can I get a motion to refer to the appropriate departments as approved subject to appropriate insurances and conditions?
So moved.
Nichols, can I have a second?
Second.
By let's go.
Councilmember Lescoviac.
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols.
Aye.
Councilmember at-large D'Amico.
Aye, carried.
Number 2, request from the Dunkirk High School District for police assistance during the homecoming parade route from approximately 6:15 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. on Friday, October 7, 2022.
Okay, can I have a motion to refer to the PBA?
So moved.
Nichols, let's go, yeah.
Councilmember Lescoviac.
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols.
Aye.
Councilmember at-large D'Amico.
Aye, carried.
Number 3, request from the Dunkirk High School District for 2 police officers to be present at the homecoming dance on Saturday, October 8, 2022 from 7:45 p.m. until 11:15 p.m. Also requesting a breathalyzer test for each student attending the dance.
Again, can I have a motion to refer to the PBA?
So moved.
Nichols, seconded by Lescoviac.
Councilmember Lescoviac.
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols.
Aye.
Councilmember at-large D'Amico.
Aye, carried.
Number 4, request from Eads and Militello PC for a hearing with the Common Council on behalf of their client, Daniel Rashka, owner of 927 Central Avenue.
Okay, that's received and filed. Let's go to 7, reports of standing committees, boards, and commissions. Councilwoman Lescoviac.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I wanted to give outstanding attention to the Economic Development Department in their efforts, along with the mayor, to jumpstart our downtown area once again by going after the Restore New York grant. It would mean so much to our city's economy. We need to make this come back. It's economic development. And then the Lakeshore Drive Streets and Beautification Project is on its way to completion with a new lighted tall pillar that resembles a lighthouse. This is to replace the brick circle on the road that was laid out long ago before the pier. When the New York State Department of Transportation redoes part of a major route, such as Route 5, there are safety measures to abide by, and the circle wasn't conducive to the safety standards to be met. Sooner or later, the brick circle would have had to go. I hear some people are upset. However, through my research, I couldn't find a single picture of the circle or a write-up. It didn't even have a name. But with vision, along with the Lakeshore Drive Streets and Beautification Project and the hopeful Restore New York grant, it's time to transcend to a greater future. Lastly, and so important, I want everyone to know your voices are heard, and I realize there are many destitute streets. There is an infrastructure investment in Jobs Act out there, and I hear there are funds for municipalities. So I am researching and calling people to find out about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Nichols?
Mike, can you give us an update on the situation and where we're going for progress-wise with the streetlights?
Streetlights that, new poles were put next to the old poles that weren't moved will be moved in the next, end of the week, beginning of next, and we're still waiting on the new arms for the lights. I'm expecting in the next couple of weeks, but I really don't have a definite date on that.
And our chipper has arrived?
Chipper has arrived, yep.
And will we put to work soon?
We have a plan in place to start on the trees in Point Gratiot, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, weather permitting.
Okay, and just explain a little bit on what the tentative plans would be for the Saturday cuttings and everything.
We had talked about coming in on a Saturday, shutting the point down to vehicles and pedestrians for a few hours or whatever it takes to drop a whole bunch of trees, and then just start cleaning them up and kind of do a little grid pattern here and there, take care of certain areas, but we want to shut it down so we can drop a whole bunch of trees and then deal with them as after they hit the ground and try out the new chipper.
Thank you. I know Natalie's unfamiliar of the lighthouse medallion that was placed at Central Avenue and Lakeshore Drive. 30 years ago, when a former mayor and her economic development team put in a grant, they had that put into place. And I was there when they were, from start to finish, when that was being constructed. It was beautiful. There are a great many people in the city of Dunkirk, when it was started, frowned upon it and thought it was ridiculous. But over the years, they tended to admire it, admire the work, because it was beneficial and it depicted the entrance to our waterfront and the lighthouse, the beam of light, the hope of what the lighthouse was significant for. I talked to the project manager from the Lakeshore Drive project today, and he said that had it been kept up over the years, that it would have been able to been preserved. There was not that much damage to it. With a little bit of fill-in and coloration, it could have been beneficial to our waterfront area. I'm just very upset, and I've had hundreds of calls on it, that the taxpayers and the residents in Dunkirk are mystified on why it did have to be demolished. It was not a safety issue. If you'd go back over the records of how many accidents took place at that intersection, it was very minimal, if you'll ask the police chief. Their biggest concern is the trees in the medians, and unless they're rootless trees, over the years, they're going to have cause a lot of turmoil with our antiquated water system down there. You can put as many valves in as you want for isolating water problems, but you're not going to be able to stop a major one. Also, what do you do with the traffic that when you have to dig up Lakeshore Drive to correct the issues with the water leaks? Second of all, what team of landscapers are going to come in? And we cannot ultimately rely on Revitalize Dunkirk because we're on a mainstream of traffic. Those areas, and however many there are, all will have to be weeded. Our streets department, our parks department, especially our parks, would be responsible for that. And they're not going to be able to maintain what we have to maintain in the city of Dunkirk in our parks department, plus doing that. The group of people with Revitalize and a few of the city volunteers have come out and taken on the project by the boardwalk, and it's starting to look wonderful. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm fearful that it's going to be a weed-infested problem and a hazard trying to get in there to either mow or do weeding on it. And I know the mayor is going to come in with a rebuttal on me on this one. He's waiting. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Well, it's disappointing to hear that you have no faith in our team here. But I can tell you that there is a plan in place. I've mentioned this before. There will be a professional landscaping company that will come in at least once or twice a season. Our guys will be going through some form of training with that team to know how to do what they need to do. I have faith in our leadership in this department, and I want the public to know that if there are issues, we'll address them accordingly. We have a very professional team. I'm very proud of the job they do, and I believe that all the issues you've mentioned are being addressed accordingly, so I have nothing more to.
You're done? Thank you. Okay, the only thing that I want to just comment on is this Friday, of course, as you heard, is homecoming up at Dunkirk High. I know they got some food trucks, if people can get out and support the local schools. Let's move on. Let's go on to unfinished business.
There's none, sir.
Thank you. Let's go pre-filed resolution.
Number 82, resolution authorizing grant application, Restore New York Communities Initiative.
Any discussion, council? Hearing none.
Councilmember Lescoviat.
Aye.
Councilmember Nichols.
Aye.
Councilmember Lars D'Amico.
Aye, carried.
Number 83, resolution awarding bid to clean demolition 47 East 2nd Street, Dunkirk.
Any discussion, council?
I have discussion on 82 that I'd like to back up on after we do 83. There's some things that need to be said on 82.
Okay, well,
yes.
Okay. Let's back up. What's the discussion, council, on 82?
I would just like Richard to clarify the stipulations after the article that was in the newspaper today on the Restore, the grant, on how the grant process is for the businesses that were outlined that were being utilized, going to be able to participate in that grant.
Sure. So in general, anytime you have government or quasi-government financing, it's essentially gap filling. So for example, let's say we're looking at the Ellis building next door. And let's say it's a $5 million rehab to do the whole job. But if they do, let's say, 2 floors of apartments and first floor retail, and they can only garner X amount of rents, to fill that gap to pay the debt service on that work, if they just did straight traditional bank financing, they would have to earn X in rental income. Often with these older buildings in the downtown areas, be it Buffalo here and some of the other cities and what's traditionally known as the Rust Belt, there's a gap there because that rent is not going to be enough to pay for that work in traditional financing. So what's happened over the years is governments and nonprofit organizations have filled that gap with help from private financing, whether it's tax credits on some of the larger products, small grant financing through HCR, Housing Community Renewal, and in this case, the Restore New York grant. And how this particular one works is there's 3 stipulations. One is the owner of the project, the person redeveloping said building, has to put down an X amount of their own equity before the project is even approved for Restore funding. So they have to commit to putting their own money on the table. 2 is the Restore New York grants are reimbursable grants. So somebody has to front the money, and then they're reimbursed sort of as the money is flowing out. Let's say, you get a bill from the contractor, they pay it, but then they seek reimbursement from New York State for that portion of the bill. The third piece of that is, as is any government funding, there's always strings attached. So with that funding comes, attachments regarding mandates, regarding MWBE, contracting or subcontracting mandates, prevailing wage, if there's state or federal funds involved, what's called Davis-Bacon when there's federal money involved, but essentially it's what we call prevailing wage in New York State. And there's certain guideposts that have to be met. So it isn't a freebie. I know that's often the case. There are a lot of strings attached, and most of those projects, it's going to take layers of funding. So it isn't that the grant itself is going to fund a project. The owner has to put in money, they have to seek traditional financing, and then often there's what they call stacking or layers of financing. and restore is one of those layers. So it's a great tool if we can get it to redo these buildings and add to that dynamic vision we had that was in our comprehensive plan from a few years ago to really create a spine between Central and Lakeshore for the business districts of Dunkirk.
Thank you, Richard. I hope that clears up things that they don't think the businesses that if we were granted the grant, if those businesses are just going to get free money and not have to have any obligation in, it just clears things up a little bit.
Sure.
And I'm sure if there's any other questions, they can call Economic Development, and Vince will kind of explain it as well.
Just to give a little bit of background on what Restore New York is. This year in Governor Hochul's budget that was passed, there was $250 million allocated to Restore New York in 2 rounds. This first round, the applications are due next week on the 11th. So basically Restore New York does projects that with buildings that were abandoned, condemned, abandoned, condemned, but basically or just vacant buildings that are blighted. And what it does is, as Richard says, we basically put together a proposal. The building owner puts together a proposal to for what level of financing, what level of rehabilitation or deconstruction or demolition that would be performed on this. And as Richard said, this is strictly a reimbursement grant. This isn't even one of those, we'll give you a little bit of money as you go along. You have to complete the project. The project has to be completed before you see $1 of reimbursement grant money. So it's I'll be honest, it's not an easy program, but it's an amazing program to rehabilitate buildings that have long been forgotten and with disinvestment.
And someone does monitor the progress on any of the, they do, okay. Thank you, both. Okay.
Okay, Councilwoman, that wasn't anything more than a clarification. You're not, obviously you voted for the resolution?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to 83.
We have no new business, sir. Are we gonna?
I'm sorry, let's
call the vote?
No, oh yes.
We haven't voted on 83.
We need to do
83.
Yeah, call the roll.
Councilmember Lescoviac?
Aye for 83.
Councilmember Nichols?
Aye for 83.
Councilmember at-large D'Amico?
Aye, carried. Now we're in new business.
None?
None? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Nichols, seconded by
Councilmember Lescoviac? Councilmember Nichols?
Aye.
Councilmember at-large D'Amico?
Aye, we're adjourned.
We got the gist of everybody.